Okay, here's an interesting one. This is one of the ones that just popped into my head. I'm always having lots of thoughts about different things, and I want to try and translate those thoughts into video because it's rather interesting. But this one thought, to cut to the chase, this one thought that popped into my head was how much it matters what you choose to do for a living. And thinking a bit deep about it, it really does matter. It's one of those things, and it's kind of funny. I'll start at the beginning where when we're younger, you often don't know. You know, you might have an idea of what you think you want to do, which might not transpire to what you actually want to do. But the thing is, you know, you'll usually end up going in one or two directions, and maybe you'll figure out, oh, it's not for you. You don't like it for this reason or for that reason. And until I think most people just fall into something, and it's probably something that's not a passion project or anything, but it's something where you can do it and earn money and it pays the bills. But it goes a bit deeper than that. There's two aspects. One aspect is the financial aspect, which is that you can be limiting yourself to that ceiling job-wise. I mean, some people say when you work in a job, you're limiting yourself to a ceiling anyway. Whereas if you had a business, say for example, there's not necessarily a ceiling there if a business can expand. So there's differences like that. And I mean, obviously on that level alone, if you're earning, you know, let's say you've got a person that's earning, I don't know, 25, 30,000 pounds or dollars, as opposed to a person that's earning 80 to 100,000 pounds or dollars, obviously their lifestyles are going to be vastly different. And the funny thing is, I think the types of jobs that they do is not always going to be vastly different. It's just some of them might be more skilled roles, fair enough, and in that case that's a good thing. I mean, if you can learn a skill and get doing something that's a more skilled role to make more money, if that's what you're after chasing and what's going to make you happy, fair enough. But the thing is, it's like the other aspect to it is that it follows you throughout your life. So it's like, if it's really weird, but it made me realise that, like, because I looked at myself in part, but it's got to be like this for other people, where the type of jobs what you choose to do, you can be limiting yourself sometimes. Like, I mean, for me, if I look back at my employment history, for example, when I was younger, I did lots of I did some warehouse work, shop work, working as a builder, working as a chef, things like that. I was even briefly in the armed forces. But the thing is, eventually then I wanted to kind of migrate out of that and get into office work, which I did do. Basically I got into like utilities, working for British Gas. That was like the first step, and then after that I got into the financial industry, to the credit industry, as a business underwriter, and I did that for like 22 years before taking voluntary redundancy and changing to another job, more utilities based recently. And it's kind of weird in that, like, just when I look back over my own employment history, I mean, I've made change, and I'm glad that I've made change in the direction that I did, because the type of work that I do now, it's not too hard. And once you've got the skill set that allows you to do that type of work, there's a lot of job opportunities in that kind of arena. You can kind of, as long as you can use computers and, you know, have good telephone manner, things like that, the basic skills, you know, then you can usually translate them to other areas, and there's a lot of jobs that kind of demand those kind of skills. But obviously, and this is where I made kind of the change when I was younger, you've got to kind of know that you can do that as well, because I think there's some people that want to do it but won't have the ability. You know, one thing I do notice is that computers and people not being able to use computers to even like a pretty basic level is one thing that can set people back, because then obviously they can't work in those arenas using computers, doing all this wizardry that they think people do with computers, because to them that's basically how they see it. It's not, I'm not getting at people like that, you know. Might sound like that, but that's not the case. But it's like you do have to kind of have that drive to know that you can do it, or at least have a go. I would say it's always worthwhile having a go to find out if that really is for you if that is something that you can do. And that's often the difference between people. You know, some people that'll do these other roles, they're just prepared to apply for it, to wing it, to see if they can, you know, do it. And sometimes they'll end up getting into quite a lucrative career just because they was willing to have a go, give it a try. You know, they took the risk, they took the gamble, and it paid off. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's definitely always worth giving it a try and seeing if it pays off. But again, getting back to the general thought though, it's just weird how whatever you choose to do can sometimes, and I'm sure it's like this for some people it can be the early days when you're making these choices where what you're choosing to do can really limit you. I mean, I would say in my experience it's good doing some jobs, some of the jobs at the lower end, shall we say, or the way that a lot of people see it at the lower end, because it gives you a good grounding, it gives you that realisation where I suppose it's a bit like for a person that doesn't grow up with wealth, you kind of learn to not take things for granted. It's showing you the kind of like the real level, the good grounding, and then you can build up from that and learn things and hopefully progress. And I know there's some people, I've seen some videos on YouTube of some people where they'll go through the work history, and they've done that, they've progressed from one job to another job to another job, skilling up, and I suppose that's a good thing if you can do it, you know, and that's how it's. But again, it's a bit of the balance as well, because with jobs as well, there's always the balance between making money, building your career, which I don't know if you want to do that. Some people seem to love the jobs and the title. If you want that, fair enough, but also there's the freedom aspect of it as well, because when you're working in a job, you're giving up your time for money, and time is valuable because we've only got so much time, it's limited. So in my opinion, it's always got to be that balance between making the money and living your life, treating yourself, enjoying yourself, spending time with your family, if you have, you know, kids, if you have them, going on holiday, seeing lots of places. All these things are so important in life, and not to be underestimated. You know, some people seem to think, oh, you know, they can work hard and then retire and do things like that, which is fair enough, but it doesn't always happen for everybody. You know, you can either end up dying, or if not that, you know, you can get some illness or something that can mess up your plans, any kind of plans that you have. So this is where, yeah, it's like, to get back to the point of this video, yeah, try and think about yourself, your working career, the choices that you've made with the jobs that you have, maybe how you'd like to change that, maybe, you know, because at any age, I mean, even when you're younger, you don't know what you want to do, and even when you're older, I'm 50 years old, and if you ask me now, I'm not, you know, my fantasy job would be no job really, but you need money to survive. So that's the conundrum what we're all up against, you know. That's not saying I'd be a born idle layabout, that's just saying that I'd prefer to have my free time to myself, to work on projects and do things that would matter to me. It's that simple. And I'm sure there's lots of people like that. I'm sure I'm not alone in thinking that. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this one if you've watched this. You know, I'd very much like to hear your opinions about something like this, so please do comment below. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel if you want to. I'd very much appreciate it if you do, to support the channel, build a little community where we can all help and advise each other, and yeah, apart from that, if you've got this far, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.